morning. Nice to see you. We welcome you to Unity Spiritual Center, where we honor the universal truths in all religions and respect each individual's right to choose a spiritual path. No matter who you are or where you might be on your spiritual path, you're always welcome here. So welcome. Hi, my name's Sherry Humes, and I'm your platform assistant for today. Today we have Rev Sandra Soley-Keep as our guest speaker, and for our musical guest, Cheryl Hodge. Now let's get centered before we say our 5 spiritual principles together. Take a deep breath in and let it out. God is good and present in all things. The holiness of God is my own true nature. I'm creating my experiences by how I think. My thinking is guided by my daily affirmative prayers and affirmative actions. I follow and I am sustained by these values in every way, every day. Now we've come to our time. I'm going to give you your meditation for today, which is my pleasure. So I invite you into this sacred time of meditation. This is your time to be with the one who loves you the most, Divine Spirit. Take a few moments to settle yourself and become comfortable. Take a few slow, deep breaths in and out. You know your own rhythm. Invite quiet and calm into your mind and your body. The calling for us is to connect with spiritual strength during this meditation. We tap into our spiritual strength by tapping into the vast love of Source energy that Source has for us. The most direct path to this deep pool of love that feeds every cell of your body is through our breath. Breathing is the ignition, the key to uniting with the divine. Repeat several times to yourself as you take long, slow, deep breaths. I feel the strength of my true self. Our true self, as a child of God, is unlimited. We have at our fingertips an endless pool of source energy from which spiritual strength originates. During our day, at any point in our day, we can make conscious contact with this pool, drawing from the vast energy of Source. Breathe in the calm, quiet strength of source energy, of the divine. Spiritual strength is calm, intuitive. Spiritual strength glows within you. Spiritual strength feels like love, feels like a joining with a love so complete, anything and all is possible. Breathe in the calm, quiet strength of source energy. As you return from this time of meditation, bring with you the sensation of spiritual strength. Feel the strength of your true self. Take a deep breath or two. Begin to wiggle your fingers and toes. And when you're ready, open your eyes. And so it is. Amen. Now, let's welcome Rev Sandra Soley-Keep. Hi, Sandra.
So good day, everyone. I'm delighted to be back here with you. And this morning I wanted to take just a moment. I was thinking about what is my usual experience when the congregation is actually here in the room. And I always take a moment to look around and have a sense of connecting with everybody. So I just want to take a moment and have a sense of connecting with each one of you. And holding that consciousness that I always try to hold, which is that the indwelling Christ Spirit within me is guided to connect with that indwelling Christ Spirit within you so that you may hear what it is that is yours to hear. So, let's go. This morning we're going to talk about how brave are you called to be? But before we get into that, I want to take just a moment and share with you some very exciting news. As many of you know, your spiritual community here, Unity Spiritual Center, has been in a search for a new minister. Board has worked very hard to get their packet together to send back to Unity headquarters. You now have a search committee. You are set to go, but you've been waiting for what just happened this week, and that is you were officially announced at Unity Worldwide headquarters as being open for ministers to apply. So for all of you, I just invite you to be in this place. We don't know how long the process will take. It certainly takes a while. You have now officially there as a viable, healthy ministry, searching for a minister, and people who are interested will then write to get the packets and find out about you and contact you, and you will all get to work exploring what's there. But let's just together, right now, take a moment and hold that the right and perfect minister in divine right order is being drawn to you right now. And in that consciousness, to know and hold that energy that as a community, you are open and receptive to receiving. All right. Do you know this is the second week of the 6 weeks of Lent? And Ash Wednesday was on the 17th. And when I was in 4th grade, that was when I learned about Lent. I was in a new school, and it came time for Ash Wednesday. And our school was 1 block from the Catholic Church. And all of the kids who were Catholic, and there were about a third of them in my class, got to leave and go down to the church for the Ash Wednesday, and then they all came back with ashes in the center of their forehead. And from my 4th grade perspective, there was some way that they were all standing taller, and they had accomplished something that I knew nothing about. And so it was from there that I began asking questions and finding a little bit more out about it, because it wasn't something that I had learned about really in my own Sunday school. But in Unity, what we really hold, and there's always a consciousness within Unity of this season. In fact, the founder wrote a book called Keep a True Lent, Keep a True Lent. But his concept, and the concept that has always been in Unity, is this is an opportunity for spiritual transformation, for us growing into and becoming receptive to that rebirth of new energy that then is there at Easter. And so there's always a booklet, a little booklet for guiding on a daily basis to Lent. And if you go to unity.org, and put Lent 2021, you will get a link right into where that booklet is. You can ask them to send you a free copy, but there's also a little place in there, and the reason I really want to talk to you about is that there's a little place where you can do a little preview of the booklet. And on the very last piece of that preview, there are these pages. And the pages are called Release and Renew, Lent 2021. And there is something there that I think everybody in Unity will want to connect with, because what they are is what we call denials and affirmations. The release is something that you're releasing and letting go of, but there's a whole list of these, and what I love about it is what is the renew part of it. Because, and I'll give you a little piece of one, I release any sense of worry. I renew my faith in divine order. Or, here's a good one for all of us, I release any need to complain. I renew my outlook through appreciation. And what it does is it's always affirming that what I need, what you need, what we need is within us. That it's something we already have. That rather than affirming something and perhaps not feeling like it's mine yet, I have to work to get it, all of these are set up so we're releasing what doesn't serve us, and then we are claiming and affirming a renewal of something that we already have. So I encourage you to go in, take a peek at these if you can, and read through them. And begin to maybe practice for yourself some. What is it you want to release? And what is it you want to renew that is already there within? Because that exactly is what we're going to be talking about today, is renewing and connecting with something that is already within us. So I want to go back to the question of my topic, which is just how brave are we called to be? And to give us a personal kind of baseline to explore it, what I want to invite you to do is to take a moment and reflect back for yourself some experience where you made a brave decision. Just to find one. We've all made lots of brave decisions in reality, but I want you to just pick one out that's important to you. What was your brave decision? You might have felt afraid beforehand, pushed into it, who knows? But you made a brave decision and you carried through with it in some way. And what I want you to think about is that and ask yourself, is what was it within you that allowed you to do that? Because that's what we're talking about today. We're going to be talking about that inner knowing, that feeling, that intuition perhaps, that in order to accomplish whatever that brave action was, you had to access your spiritual power of strength. Unity minister Paul Hasselback and Cheryl Hodge in their book, Power Up, speak of the 12 powers as our accelerated abilities. That in order to accomplish what you did, your brave experience, what you did was connected to an accelerated ability that was already within you. That however brave you were called to be, you already had that ability. There was something within you. And so let's talk about that and the renewal. You know, one of the favorite scriptures that's used a lot, Charles Fillmore has it in his book about the 12 powers, is from Isaiah 40:31. And you may remember some of these words even in a hymn that you heard, but listen to them and hear our word, renew. Isaiah says, "Those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as angels. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." A renewal of what's already within. Now, I want to take just a moment before we talk some more about strength and kind of back up about the 12 powers of man and how that came about. From my perspective of seeing what happened with that, it's kind of my story in some ways of it. But what we learn in Unity is how the beginning of things in many ways, although both Myrtle, Fillmore, and Charles were spiritual seekers, was the fact that Myrtle had some real health challenges, and she was even diagnosed as being so serious that she was expected to perhaps not live. And so there was deep concern about it. And she went to a workshop, a lecture, and heard a fellow named E.B. Weeks say something that resonated deeply with her, which was, "You do not inherit illness. We do not inherit illness." And Myrtle had been told her whole life that she had inherited this tuberculosis. And Myrtle went home, and she was so connected with that she connected with Charles. And what she did is she went into her place of meditation and study, and she did this whole work of focusing on her body, going into the places that she felt were affected by what was going on, apologizing to them, really doing a release, apologizing to them for holding thoughts of illness and beginning to affirm their wholeness, their well-being. And over a time of months, Myrtle completely healed by her ongoing work of affirming this positive, healthy vision and view of her body and working with that. Well, Charles Fillmore dawned on him that if she could somehow connect with spirit like she did so strongly to be able to totally heal, that if one person does it, everybody ought to be able to do it. And so he began doing this thing of sitting in the silence. He would spend an hour a day sitting in the silence, and it went on for a long while that he wasn't particularly aware of anything happening with that, but eventually things did begin to emerge for him. So much so that to this day now, we look back on Charles, and he's often spoken of as being an American mystic, somebody who had a personal experience of the presence. And what I think happened, what I have a strong sense of, is that his thing of the 12 powers had to do with his personal experience in the meditation time, in his silence time, of really feeling that presence within, that power of the indwelling Christ, and to begin to become aware of the different powers of that were within. And so to this day, we still promote and talk about, various authors have written about Unity's 12 powers, because they are within us and there's something we can all connect with. You know, it's very difficult for someone to have a spiritual experience and be able to share what that experience was like. But what all of the spiritual teachers do is they try to give us a map. This was what it was like. This was my experience, so that we can begin to explore that ourselves. So think about what a map is. It's not the territory. If you had a map of where Unity Spiritual Center is, you would have to come here and actually be here and experience the territory of Unity Spiritual Center. That's what those ministers are going to do at some point, is they're going to read all about the map, but they're going to want to be able to connect with the experience. Well, you, I, we all have a map from Charles, and each one of us owns the territory. It's our own physical being. It's our own physical being. The 12 powers are Charles's map. And within Unity, we teach there's only one presence, there's only one power active in the universe and in my life. And then we teach that that same presence, that same power is truly within each and every one of us, because we're a part of the whole. That indwelling Christ is within. So our challenge, your challenge and mine, is to move from studying the map to exploring the territory. Charles identified the power of strength in the small of the back. And think about that for yourself. How often do we need strength in the small of our backs to be able to do whatever it is ours to do? That spiritual strength is theirs as well. And to build that, to move with it, we're always building with it, either from a place of affirming it and claiming it, or we're falling back into the fears of the ego and moving back from exploring the territory. So I want to share just a little quick personal story of an experience I had that helped me identify the territory of strength. I have to say that as a child, and given my background of losing my dad when I was just little, I had lots of love in my life, but I think I got a lot of support in a way that maybe didn't encourage me to really be brave and have my strength. I can remember a lot saying, I can't. I can't. And in fact, as a child, I'm afraid I probably was a bit of a whiner. But when I had a stepdad, he was not about to have anything to do with that, and he was always pushing me to not be a wimp, not be a wimp. Well, it wasn't, the time I want to talk about was many years later in my mid-30s, when my kids were finally grown enough to be off to school, and I decided to go back, finish my bachelor's degree in psychology and do a master's program. And part of that included, I took a class in what was called psychoecology, bringing together the world of psychology and ecology. And the deal about this class that I didn't realize till kind of afterwards, really the depth of it, was at the end of the semester, there was a 2-week wilderness trip up in the back country of Big Sur. And on that trip, we were all going to have to spend 3 days in the wilderness, even totally by ourselves. And the couple who led it were very strongly involved in Native American culture, and they wanted us to really experience this in depth. And so part of it was what we got to take with us. We could take a sleeping bag and a tarp, but no tents, no technology, no even flashlights. We were going in the season where the 2 weeks where we were going to have a full moon. We're up there. There's lots of stars. There'll be light, right? The only thing that we kind of had that was maybe a little off was a whistle. I mean, we couldn't even bring books. We couldn't bring journals, nothing to distract ourselves. And I have to say that we drove all the way down the Highway 1, got about down to where Esalen is, pulled aside, and for about 4 hours, it was straight up with our backpacks, my backpack, having everything I needed for 2 weeks. And it was not easy. I want to say that I whined all the way up. But the woman who was one of the coordinators with it, I got up and I apologized when I finally got up there. I mean, at the end of it, it was so steep and people were being helped up and people were coming down and getting packs and helping people, but we all made it. And I apologized for being so whiny and complaining. And she said to me, "Yes, but you never stopped climbing. You never stopped climbing." And so I won't share the whole thing at all in any way because it would take forever. But I will say we had to choose a name. We had to choose a name. And I felt so kind of wimpy at that point. We were to choose a name that had to do with the environment we were in. And we had to get to this camp real quickly as it was starting to get dark. And we're following along and going around these huge boulders. And so that was exactly what I chose as my name for 2 weeks. I was Boulder for 2 weeks. And I want to say that the end of that experience, at the end of those 2 weeks, no connection with the outside world at all. I made it through my 3 days by myself, even though I ran across cougar tracks. I mean, really, all of those things together, it was a huge experience of what we're talking about here with strength. Because it was not only finding the strength within me, it was finding the strength in my environment. It was learning to tune in my intuition to my environment, and it was learning how interdependent we all are by supporting and connecting with each other. How powerful that is when we're all tuning in together to creating a world that really works for all of us. It was a 2-week immersion, really, in what we're talking about here. And it really fits in with a favorite affirmation of mine, which is the Spirit of God is with me and for me. All things are possible, for I am one with the infinite. You know, Charles Fillmore tells us that strength, the kind of strength we're talking about, is not physical strength alone, but mental and spiritual strength. And that all strength originates in spirit. And the thought and the word, spiritually expressed, bring the manifestation. That's the process. And he quotes from Philippians 4:13, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." You know, Fillmore said that until we realize that our strength is spiritual, it cannot become abiding, unfailing, and enduring. We want to develop it. We want to become all that we can. Charles actually remarried after Myrtle passed away, and his second wife, Cora, wrote a book called Christ Enthroned in Man, where she too talks about the 12 powers. Here's what Cora had to say. "All strength," she says, "is from God. However, its manifestation is according to the mold of thought into which that precious essence is poured." She says the realization of the Christ presence as sustaining strength is a stronghold in consciousness that fortifies us against all adverse conditions. And another Unity minister, Martha Smock, says, "We are joyous overcomers when we realize that our strength does not consist of physical strength or willpower. And when we lay hold of the truth that our strength is the strength of the Almighty God, waiting within us to be used. So there we are. There's our map for spiritual strength. The territory is within. And I just want to ask you to take a moment and ask yourself, just how brave am I called to be? Just how brave are you called to be? Because the truth is, all of us are either listening to ego or the indwelling Christ Spirit that already knows the way. There may be something, take a moment to think about, if I were brave enough, what would you do? If you were brave enough, you might even sit down and make a list for yourself. If I was brave enough, I would do this, I would do that, I would help here. And the truth is, friends, we never know when we're called to be brave. I just got a note from my cousin and pictures of her husband down rescuing the turtles. Rescuing the turtles. Called to be brave. Hundreds of people being called to be brave, rescuing thousands of turtles, not knowing how many of them will make it, but doing their best. And always, each and every day, we are called, you are called, I am, to step forward with our strength and be brave. And so I invite you just each and every day to take a moment and look for, where am I being called to be brave today? And to pay attention to, you have this incredible strength within you to bring forth and bring into expression what you are called to do. Our work, all of us, is to come to know and trust that inner strength. And so I want to close by giving you a Unity Lent season release and renew. The release is, I release all perceived limitations. Because that's what they are. They're often the ego. They're perceived limitations. But when we choose to align, they're not really limitations at all. We can move beyond them because of the strength and the power and the energy we have within us. So take a moment and just repeat that with me now. Let's do it. I release all perceived limitations. And our renewal, I renew my trust in my indwelling Christ spiritual strength. Together, let's do it. I renew my trust in my indwelling spiritual strength. My friend, I see it within you. I claim it is there, and I trust and know that the Spirit and the energy of God within you can accomplish all that your heart desires. I see that with you and affirm it and know it is so. God bless.
Thank you, Reverend Sandra. That's wonderful. Such appreciation for you. We've reached the part in our service that we get to give, to practice the abundance that we are. There are two ways that you can give, and you will find that information at the end of the service. We're always grateful for your generous gift. As you consider your gift, affirm, I give freely and joyfully, for God is my source, and I have abundance in all areas of my life. Please say with me our offertory blessing. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Now, let's welcome our guest musician, Cheryl Hodge. Hi, Cheryl.
Here's a song that won Best Jazz Song of the Year at the Hollywood Music and Media Awards back a couple of years ago. And this song is about the Awa tribe in Brazil. The Awa tribe is that tribe that lives in the trees. Their homes are built in the trees for obvious reasons. When the fires came across Brazil, people were in danger of being burned out of their homes, and they realized it. And so this aforementioned tribe had to find a new place to live. So this is dedicated to the Awa tribe. This is called Tree People, to bring some awareness into the massive burnings that have been going on in Brazil.
He rose swiftly down the Amazon, and hoping one day he will find his way to sea. He goes, knowing fully what he wants, and hoping someday all his people will be free. They will be free. He dreams of a land of compassion, where everyone lives life so free. He won't think of riches or fashion. Such things don't exist deep in the land of the trees, of the trees. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. He will be free. He dreams of a land of compassion, where everyone lives life so free. He'll make his way in his own fashion, a slow-moving quest as he moves west of the trees, 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 of the the trees.
Thank you. That was so beautiful. We always enjoy your music. Thank you so much. We're at the end of our service, and we're going to say our prayer of protection together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Thank you for being with us this Sunday. Have a blessed week ahead.